Okay, so Marcion got called a Gnostic, and so did, I believe, Arius, even though that they're not actually Gnostics by the definition that we use today. The definition of Gnostic that we use today, they wouldn't be considered Gnostics, right? Because even though Marcion was docetic, part of the Docete, he didn't have any secret teachings. He was completely open about it. Same thing with Arius. And even though Arius embraced, Neoplatonism, basically, again, not a Gnostic. It was kind of like a slander. But the Gnostics, they had secret teachings. As you can tell by their writings, this is the secret gospel that Jesus pulled me aside and actually told me the truth because he was lying to everybody else, whatever. Like you find the Apocryphon of John, the Apocryphon of James, sayings of Thomas, all these other, the bits of Mary Magdalene that we have, and the bits of Philip that we have. But what makes a Gnostic besides the secret stuff? Well, it's believing that the physical world is evil, created by a evil or stupid god. Usually that's associated with the Jewish God. And that women are lower than men, and that the worst thing you can do is to have sex, because it's a carnal act. It's the most joyful carnal act, and a loving the flesh, and it can potentially rip a soul out of the pleroma and entomb it into a flesh body, right? So sex with procreation is the worst thing, but sex anyways is the worst thing, because you're engaging in carnal pleasure. You're attaching yourself to this world, right? Not to mention the lower creature that's considered a woman. This is why the early church was suspect of monasteries, because that's a bunch of guys going off into the desert, not allowing women to be out there, fighting their passions, becoming extremely ascetic, and denying the flesh to the point of mortification, and not really being overseen by anybody, and handing out wisdom to people. This was seen as highly suspect. And remember, Gnosticism was not for the common man. That was Catholic Christianity, where everyone could be saved. There was no difference between Jew nor Gentile, barbarian nor Greek, educated, uneducated, man nor woman, old nor young. God loved everybody, and he came here to welcome everybody into the kingdom of heaven. But the Gnostics, no, it was just a few learned men who had got their passions under control. They also had these odd gospels where sometimes Jesus and the Christ weren't really the same. Jesus was born regularly, but the Christ came into Jesus at the baptism and left before the crucifixion, or he was just an apparition, like Marcion, the Docete. He just appeared to be a human being, because since matter is 100% evil and spirit is 100% good, how could God have a flesh body? Even God's Son have a body of flesh. You know, it would be, impossible. So, yeah, these are just some overviews of Gnosticism before I continue reading Thomas and then going into the other Gnostic Gospels. But, yeah, the Gnostics were elitists and very arrogant. And the funny thing is that I found many modern-day Gnostics, with the exception of James of Pandora's Box, but like the Gnostic Truth, I believe it was called, very arrogant, said, yeah, we are better than most people. We are more spiritual than 99% of the earth, and we are more enlightened, and you have to follow us. Basically, then he wound up saying, you have to follow me. I'm the only way. I almost got him to say, I'm the way, the truth, and the light. Yeah. That's why so many cults resemble the Gnostics. But the Gnostics mingled, were amongst the Christians. They were they had these secret teachings. You know, it's not like there was a Gnostic congregation here and a regular congregation there. There was a few Gnostics within the Christian congregation of Antioch or Alexandria or wherever, you know, and there would be some people who were more mystical in their view of Christ. There would be some people who were more traditional, or you'd say Judaizer. Yeah, the Gnostics flourished in all-male monasteries, and that's why we find the Gnostic Gospels in these places. Not to mention that women are really seen as, not having souls. Maybe with the exception of Mary Magdalene in one part of the Sayings Gospel of Thomas. But, yeah, they were exclusively in monasteries. I mean, the Nag Hammadi library, and then you have other Gnostic and heretical gospels and writings that were found in monasteries throughout Greece and Serbia. So, yeah, it wasn't the everyday man's Christianity. It was the most elite of the most elite that had no use for women. Yeah. I mean, just look later on to the Paulicians, the Bogomels, and the Albigensians. They would starve themselves to death because, again, the physical world was an evil, ugly place, and escaping it through death, suicide, was the best thing. All right, peace to you.